My name is Dr. Guy W. Jordan. I'm a licensed psychologist and I practice in Gainesville, Georgia. I have been a psychologist since 1977, so I've been practicing for quite a while. I have a variety of things that I do, and one of the things that I think is very important is to help people personally and professionally and in their business. In the years that I've been practicing, I've seen a lot of people with a lot of problems. But I also have seen a lot of people in business situations where I've helped them in their business become more effective and more efficient in managing their business and managing their employees. So why would someone choose me to help them with their business or with their personal life, rather than some of the others that are out there? What is special or unique about what I can offer? First of all, I am a licensed psychologist, but in working with individuals outside of Georgia, my license does not apply. However, in Georgia, I do work with individuals providing services for counseling and assessment. But for business purposes, I would provide consulting services. It's really important to me that people look at their business from a standpoint of what's going to make it work better and what's going to make it more efficient. It is my belief that many people who are employees in business bring their personal life into the business situation, and that disrupts the effectiveness and the productivity of the business. For those of you who have a business and want to improve your effectiveness of your employees, there are some things that can be done to help you manage them more effectively. One of the things that I also try to do is not just work with the managers or the business owners, but also work with the employees on helping them be happier in their personal life, so their personal life doesn't interfere at work. It is my belief that happy people make happy employees. So let me give you some ideas of what I think are current trends that will definitely be impacting business in the years ahead. During the last 15 years, I've seen a dramatic increase in certain problems people are experiencing. Some of those problems are things like ADHD, where people have problems with focusing, being organized, being able to complete their task. And the increase in ADHD has gone from about 3 in 100 to about 11 in 100. So 11% of the population now has characteristics of ADHD. Some of those may be your employees, and that can affect their effectiveness as an employee if it is not properly managed. I've also seen a rise in autism. I've also seen a rise in anxiety. These problems can be somewhat hidden by people, and then as an employee, these problems can become manifested in their work. So what do we do to fix these problems? What do we do to help these people? First of all, you need to ascertain, as part of your management of these people, do they have difficulties that could be a liability or an impairment in their performance? Or could this actually be a possible use that would be beneficial to them as an employee? For example, I have heard that if you take people who have autistic-like traits or Asperger's disorder, if you look for a group of them, I have heard it said at conferences that the largest concentration of them probably are in Silicon Valley, where they're working with computers, and they are very good employees because they're not interested in people, they're interested in working on those computers. And they'll work diligently, and they'll work beyond normal work hours because they are focused, and that is their primary interest. So they'll put in extra hours, not because you're paying them, but just because they want to. There are other people who are ADHD who may be able to multitask and do multiple things at the same time, as long as they're properly managed to where they complete those tasks. So these problems that occur may not always be a liability. They may also be a benefit. For example, somebody who has obsessive compulsive tendencies, you certainly want them to be your accountant or your dentist. You want them to be perfectionistic in what they do. So having an awareness of these characteristics might help you with not only who you hire, but also the type of position you place those people. So we've seen these characteristics increase over the years, but when they're a liability, they can take a time away from work, they can create appointments and medication management issues and drama among employees, with other employees, things that really aren't good for the business. Since we have a little bit of time today, I'm going to share some of the ideas of what I teach when I am consulting personally and professionally with individuals and businesses. I think people really don't have a good understanding of what happiness is. Happiness comes when you have a sense of satisfaction in your life, and that satisfaction is really attained through some accomplishments. We want people to have accomplishments in their life they're proud of. We want them to see success as a product of what they do with their hands and their minds. We want them to feel like they are productive and to be satisfied with the product of what they do, and we want them to receive some acknowledgement of that. When they don't receive that, they get disheartened, they get depressed, they get disgruntled, they complain, they whine. Giving them more money isn't the answer. Giving them a sense of accomplishment, pride, sense of a compliment, a sense of making them proud of what they do through your acknowledgement might be more worthwhile than giving them more money. It is also recognized that people who are happy at work often are happier at home. And we want them to be happy at home because then they won't bring that drama into work. So if we can create a happiness in that person where they're happy at home and at work, you're going to have an employee who is happy about telling people about their job. They're going to come into work with excitement and enthusiasm, and they're going to give you their full attention. Since we have time to talk about satisfaction, let's also take a moment to talk about contentment. Contentment is the ultimate form of happiness. And being content doesn't mean they're complacent. So there's a difference there, and I teach that when I meet with people. But what interferes with our happiness? What interferes with that sense of contentment and that feeling of joy that we want, either personally in our life or in our work? There are three main emotions that interfere with that. And I actually wrote a book that is available through Amazon that is titled Simplify Your Emotions, Steps to Happiness. I developed this model for teaching people about happiness back in the early 1980s, and I've been teaching this routinely to everyone I see. The book presents emotions like going up and down a ladder. So as you start out with happy, where you want to be, and move up the ladder, we have worry and fear and anxiety that people live with every day, and that's a disruption in their happiness and a disruption in their productivity. If the thing they're worried about going wrong actually does go wrong, and they feel hurt, that's a more intense disruption in their happiness. And then if the hurt doesn't get fixed, it can lead to anger, and then anger creates even more problems. So we have to fix these other three emotions in order to maintain a level of happiness. As part of my consulting with businesses, I teach their managers and the employees how to maintain control over these three unhealthy emotions so that they can maintain a sense of happiness. What are some other ways that we try to do this? In addition to understanding about happiness and managing the emotions, one of the big problems that people worry about is anger management. We don't want employees getting angry, and we don't want them getting frustrated and impatient and whining and complaining and not meeting your goals as an employer. One of the things that I have found to be extremely beneficial is to do an assessment of every employee and find out a little bit about their personality traits, about how they relate and interact with other people. I have a true-false personality questionnaire that the person answers by filling in the circles after they read the questions. What that does, it creates a profile. And the profile of this interpersonal behavior survey actually creates a profile of looking at aggressiveness traits and assertiveness traits. Now, why would you want to look at aggressiveness and assertiveness? Why don't you just look at aggressiveness? Look at anger. Look at what makes a person get upset. If a person doesn't have good assertiveness skills, their natural default, the natural thing they do is turn to aggression to control their environment. They could turn to anger to push people away or intimidate others into leaving them alone. In a business setting, that's not good. Because in a business setting, you want people to cooperate, not intimidate. So how can this be beneficial? Here I have an example of someone who has average assertiveness and a little bit of an anger problem. Their anger problem is in how quickly they express their anger, and when they express it, it's going to be verbally. They're going to vent with their words, not their actions. So they're not physically going to show that they're angry. They're going to show it through words, and those words can be hurtful. If we know this about a person, then we come over to the assertiveness side and say, okay, then what is it that's interfering and why can't they manage their anger? This particular person has a low score in defending assertiveness, which means they do not have skills for negotiating, discussing, compromising, and resolving conflict. When conflict occurs, they resort to anger to control it rather than coming to a negotiated solution. So this tells us automatically that until this person learns to be more assertive in an appropriate way, their anger is not going to be manageable. Another thing that not from this person, but another person I saw, we had in a situation where the person was actually employed as a customer service representative. They were employed where they would take phone calls, solve problems, get the person the services or the products or parts they needed, and they would help them solve their problem. This person was doing such a good job that she was being considered for a promotion into a sales position. So we did this profile on this lady. This is not her profile, but the profile on her showed very high scores in defending assertiveness, which means she was an excellent problem solver. She knew how to negotiate and come to solutions to things. But her initiating assertiveness, the comfort level of talking to strangers, was low. That was a low score for her. She did not feel comfortable face-to-face talking to strangers. Putting her in a sales position where she had to do cold calls or initiate face-to-face contact with people was going to be very unpleasant for her. So by looking at this profile, we figured out she was in the best position for her She was in the position that was going to maximize her skills, maximize her comfort, and if she got promoted into this new position, she was going to feel awkward. She was going to feel uncomfortable. She was not going to perform at a level that she would be expected to do. So her employer was notified about this profile and how she was in the best position possible. And if they wanted to reward her, rather than promoting her with an increase in salary, just simply reward her with an increase in salary with more responsibility in her current position. This made her happy and it made the employer happy, simply because we knew more about her particular traits and what would benefit her in her role and what would benefit the company for what the company needed. We would never have known this without this personality profile. Ideally, when we want somebody as an employee, we want somebody who's high in assertiveness and low in aggressiveness. We want somebody who has a take charge attitude, somebody who will get the job done and not look to someone else to get verification that I'm doing okay. So yes, we can create an ideal profile for the camera, but do people actually turn out that way in person? Sometimes they do. And when they don't, we can actually train them to be more assertive and less aggressive, and less angry. I have worked with people in cases where they were involved in court because of some anger episode, some rage episode. And taking this profile, their anger was very high and their assertiveness was low. In a few months of counseling, we were able to turn that profile around so that the aggressive, angry responses were low and the assertiveness was high. That can save a lot of money for employers by not having to retrain somebody in skills, but retrain them in their emotional management. So another thing that I think is very important for employers is not just look at the personality characteristics of how a person is when they are at work and how they interact with people, but what is their home life like? What is their family life like? Does that create a disruption and an interference in their ability to perform their job? One of the things that I have worked with in the last 30 plus years is dealing with cases of custody and divorce. I have seen some cases that lasted for more than 2 years of people being involved in dramatic divorce custody battles or situations that took them out of their job because of court time, because of meeting with attorneys, because of having to deal with drama that was going on, and their mind wasn't at work. They were getting phone calls. They were worried about what was happening to their children or what was happening that the other person might be stalking them or texting them or calling them while they're at work, interfering with their ability to do their job. Over the years, the states have required that when people go through divorce cases and they have children, they are required to take a parenting course that is 4 hours in length. And the states require that to help promote healthier co-parenting strategies between parents. This is an important thing for parents to do. It is also important for parents to do this even when they're still married so that they can be more effective as parents. An attorney and I developed one of these co-parenting training programs and had it approved in the state of Georgia. Our co-parenting training program is actually available, and it is available on CDs. It is 4 hours of CDs, 2 hours on looking at psychological issues that affect children and how it affects the parents cooperating for the benefit of the children. There's also an hour on dealing with co-parenting strategies. What will help parents work together in order to fix problems with their children, cooperate about dealing with each other and reduce the conflict that may be occurring. Additionally, there's an hour on what happens in court. And there have been some families where they have listened to these CDs and decided, we don't want to put our children through this, we don't want to go through this, let's work out our relationship and not get separated. And this has actually salvaged relationships because they reviewed this material before going through a divorce process. On these CDs, there's 4 hours of instructional information. As part of that, there is also a 5th disc in here that has a manual. And the manual looks like this, and it's about 100 pages. And it's available electronically for somebody to put in their computer, pull it up, and read the manual. And it's all in part of one package deal. Additional to that is two DVDs. There are 2 DVDs that focus on co-parenting strategies and on the 28 problems that are most common in separated families. I do one of the DVDs, and my associate who developed this program is an attorney, and she does the other DVD. So this information is available to help families in your business who can benefit personally at home, so they can review this material, they can plan how to make their family healthier, so that when they come to work, they don't have interference. This also makes them happier because they don't have drama and disruption going on. Now, yeah, there's a lot of things that people focus on when they are talking about how to be a professional consultant to your business. Dressing appropriately for the business setting is important. Dressing for court, when people go through court cases, is important. I am dressed for you as a business consultant. I can also take off my coat and be a little more personal and be a little less concerned about appearance and focus more on relationship. As a professional in a business or personal setting, you need to be aware that your personal relationship with your employees and with each other is what drives the success of what you do. Giving more money, giving more perks is great, but that's not the key element of what people need in a relationship of business and personal. There have been studies done that look at work environments, and they've actually made work environments less conducive to be successful while giving more personal attention to the employees. You would think if you made the environment less conducive by reducing the lighting or something like that in a factory position, that it would cause work to decrease. But when it's paired with more attention and recognition for the employees of a personal nature, productivity actually goes up. So when we look at helping your business, when we look at developing a pattern of success that you can benefit from, let's work together. I've got some tools, I've got some strategies, and I've got a lot more than what we've talked about here that we can cover. I think working on creating happiness, creating relationships, creating a form of acknowledgement that is creating pride is very important. If you can do that with your business and with your employees, and they can develop that feeling of confidence in themselves, anything is possible. You can be successful, your business can be successful, your employees will be happier, and the bottom line will be overall success. So if you want to contact me, you can contact me by phone at 770-534-5262. My email address is heartwellpress, HEARTWELL press @gmail.com. I'd be happy to hear from you. Thank you.